Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to be diving back into Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, and we're going to take a look at the new Reborn Lineage, which is this great option we now have. So if you ever wanted to build a character based off of Frankenstein's monster, the mummy, or even some strange zombie construct, this is finally here and we can do it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to review this new option. We're also going to give you a sample build to kind of help inspire your own creation. So let's see if we can make this character rise today on Rolling with Advantage. So the first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at this Reborn Lineage. It's not a race, it's a lineage. It's a little bit different mechanically than we see with your traditional race options that we see. Basically what it does, it tells us that we can either start as one of these characters or we can become one of these characters. There's a way for you to kind of progress into this down the road if you wanted to, which is pretty cool. So let's say you're in a campaign right now and you want to try out some of the new things. You could take your existing character and then become one of these things, which is pretty cool. So what the Reborn is it basically it's this idea that if you wanted to play the zombie, the Frankenstein's monster, even the mummy or something like that, you could do that with this. It is not specific to one path that you want to choose. They give you a couple of different flavor options for it. So what it does, at first we're going to go through, we're going to see Faded Memories. This is basically a D6 where you can basically say, how do your memories, work? Because you've been reconstructed, do you remember everything? Do you remember voices or anything like that? It kind of gives you an idea. Now, of course, you can make whatever you want with this, with your DM's help, but you could take a look at this and kind of get like an idea. Like I like this one right here. It says, a memory carries a vivid smell or sensation. What are you going to do to recreate that experience? Like it's giving you these ideas to help spur your own imagination, which is great. Now, Reborn Origins. This gives you a D8. Now, you could randomize this, but I think the idea behind this is giving you these ideas of like, let's help spur your own imagination, your own creative process. Were you a necromancer's undead servant? Or you were magically resurrected, but something went wrong, So it gives you these ideas of what we could do. So all of this is kind of up to you and what your personal vision for your character is, which is very cool that it's giving us some direction to kind of help us. Now, it does give you, there are several different domains of dread in this book. Now, you also could be creating your own, like I'm doing in my own campaign. But it gives you 3 domains here that kind of fit with this and kind of gives you an idea. Like the Har Akir, this is basically going to be your mummy. The Lamortia, you awoke amid the bizarre experiments of an immoral scientist. They consider you their finest creation. This is almost like a construct, or maybe even like a zombie construct or something like that. And then you have Mordant, which is you emerge from the mysterious device known as the apparatus. Your body is a lifeless shell and your past a mystery. This is kind of like, I would see this as your traditional Frankenstein's monster kind of thing. Just kind of, again, like these are, if you're playing in these domains, this might be something that you could go with. Again, I think all of this is tailored to the own inspiration for character creation. All right, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of this. Wow, that was a great pun. Alright, so we have your creature type is humanoid. This is different than in UA. In the Unearthed Arcana, the beta test version of this, you could choose if you were undead or a construct. They scrapped that. You are a humanoid. It's good and bad. There were some bad things about being undead. Running into a cleric that could turn you away or anything like that would be kind of bad. So we're just going to stick with the straight humanoid is what they went for in the final version. You do get to choose if you're medium or small, which is pretty cool. Your walking speed is 30 feet. Now, Ancestral Legacy. Now, this is what we're talking about. This is a difference between a race and a lineage, okay? If you replace a race with this lineage, you keep the following elements of that race, which are any skill proficiencies you gain from it, and any climbing, flying, or swimming speed you gain from it. If you don't keep any of those elements, you choose this lineage at character creation, you gain proficiencies in 2 skills of your choice, which is very, very good. That's great that you actually get 2 full skills if you take this at character creation. Now, the big thing we get here is Deathless Nature. You have escaped death, and what this basically allows you to do is you have advantage on saving throws against disease and being poisoned, and you have resistance to poison damage. Cool meta action here. If you're going to be going up against a green dragon, I would definitely make one of these. If you also have advantage on death saving throws, okay, that's one of those things people think, oh, okay, how often does that come up? It depends on the game. It can come up quite a lot. Also, if you're going to be playing in a Tomb of Annihilation game, that is huge. I would absolutely want to play one of these in that campaign. You don't need to eat, drink, or breathe, and you don't need to sleep, and magic can't put you to sleep. You can finish a long rest in 4 hours if you spend those hours in an inactive, motionless state. So this is your sentry, basically. You're in sentry mode. Now, the big thing down here that I absolutely love about this, and I love the flexibility this gives you, is knowledge from a past life. You temporarily remember glimpses of the past, perhaps faded memories from ages ago or a previous life. When you make an ability check that uses a skill, you can roll a d6 immediately after seeing the number on the d20 and add the number on the d6 to the check. You can use this feature a number of times equals your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expanded uses when you finish a long rest. Okay, so early on you're using it twice, eventually you're going to get 3, 4, 5 uses of this or whatever. But the thing that's great about this is the idea is that it's knowledge from a past life, but it isn't specific to knowledge skills. There's no way to say, oh, we can only use this on nature checks or medicine checks or anything. You could use this on athletics. You could use it on stealth. You could use it on any skill. The other thing that's really great about this is that you use it after you roll the dice. So let's say you roll an 18. Well, I don't need to use it. But let's say you roll a 10 and maybe you do want to use it. The other thing that I want to point out about this is that this actually can stack with my favorite cantrip in the game, Guidance. So if you can cast Guidance on yourself, which gives you a d4 to your next ability check, you could stack it with that. That's crazy. It also could stack with Bardic Inspiration. So there's a lot of things that you could do with this to make a Reborn the skill monkey of the party. That's a whole cool build we could do down the road. I like that a lot. So we'll definitely build around that in the future. That's super cool that you could have this character that's like this undead zombie thing, but he also is very knowledgeable and knows a lot of things. I mean, if you made a lore bard with this, that would be really, really cool. So there's a lot of cool things you could do with that. And I love this. I love the flexibility that we are getting with this lineage. Okay, so I think all of this is super cool. Now, one thing that it doesn't point out here that we don't really see until we come into the character builder itself is whenever you choose this, you have a choice on your ability scores. You can either put increases in 2 stats, a +2 in one stat, and a +1 in the other, or you can do +1 in 3 different stats. Now, if you are rolling your stats, I have a character a player in our game who rolled for stats, and they got all odd numbers. Well, this is a really cool idea because then he could put 1 in 3 different stats to get to the even numbers to get the modifier bump. Also, if you're doing point buy, you could kind of navigate it to where you put in 15s in 3, and that gives you 3 16s and then 3 8s, which is kind of min-max, but you kind of get the idea. It gives you a lot of flexibility, and I think that's what the design space for this whole thing is to give people the ability to make what they want, just to make the options grander, and I love that they did that. So for the sample build today, what we're going to do is we're going to be building this character. We're going to put 2 points in strength. We're going to put 1 point in constitution. You get a language pick. I picked gnomish. You pick what you want to. Maybe he was made by a gnome. They like to tinker a lot. You choose your size. I chose medium, and then we already talked about the abilities down here. Now for Ancestral Legacy, we get to pick 2 skills. I chose Perception and Intimidation. Perception, I think, is the best skill in the game, and Intimidation, you're a big monster. Maybe you want to have some Intimidation. I think it's kind of neat. It's kind of on par for the class here. We're going to be making a Path of Wild Magic Barbarian with our Reborn. The reason I chose this is, one, I like the new Wild Magic Barbarian. I like barbarians in general, and I like the idea of the randomness of the magic. And I think the idea of having a construct where you were created and you don't really understand, how it was made or anything, but you've got this strange magic coming in you and it kind of emanates. I just think I like the whole idea of this. So I think it goes well with Reborn. So how I would make this barbarian, for proficiencies, I chose athletics and survival. I came down here, we chose what the Primal Path is, which is Path of the Wild Magic. And just so we understand what this means is that whenever we use a rage, we basically roll a d8 and we get one of these abilities that kick off. And all of them are really good. Like one of them allows you to teleport up to 30 feet until your rage ends, and you can keep using it every turn as a bonus action. I mean, the fact that you have this giant hulking undead or mummy or whatever just teleporting around wreaking havoc, that's awesome. And all of them are really good. Like here's one, it says whenever a creature hits you with an attack before your rage ends, the creature takes 1d6 force damage as magic lashes out in retribution. I mean, I could go through every one of these are good. I mean, some people may like some more than others, but I think they're all really, really fun. And I like the idea that there's this wild magic like surging from this creation when it gets really angry. Very, very cool. So what I did is I went through here. I'm going to kind of tell you how I picked some certain things. I chose the slasher feat. The reason I did this is I wanted to get an extra +1 to my strength, and I'll show you how I did my stats here in a second. But I like the idea here that says that once per turn, when you hit a creature with an attack that deals slashing damage, you can reduce the speed of the target by 10 feet. The reason that I like this is like whenever you hit something, it allows you to kind of hold something big there, and it can't like go around and maul all of your friends. It's a way for the tank to kind of hold something there to taunt it, if you want to use an MMO term. Also, it says when you score a critical hit with slashing damage to a creature, you grievously wound it. Until the start of your next turn, the target has disadvantage on all attack rolls. This comes in the family of feats that we saw in Tasha's. This is a great option. Like I said, it gives you either strength or dex, and it gives you something for using a slashing weapon, which for this character we're going to use. I also like the Crusher one, which is a very good one for the bludgeoning attack as well. So let's pause. That's the first feat I took, and the reason that I took this +1 is how I broke my abilities up using point buy is I put a 15 in strength, 14 in dex, 15 in con, 8 intelligence, 10 wisdom, and 8 charisma. So with the bonuses we get, we're going to get a +2 for our lineage. That's going to put us at a 17. I'm going to get another point for slasher that I took at 4th level. This will get me at 18. And then my next ASI, ability score improvement, I get at level 8. I'll put 2 points into that, which will get me to the 20 that we see. I want this character, anytime I play a big melee character, I want to get to that 20 strength at level 8. Like, that's kind of my goal. If I can't do it sooner, I think that's the point where I want to be capped out on my strength at that point. So that's what I did. So if we go down here at level 4, we're taking Slasher. And at level 8, as we come down here, where's it at? Ability score improvement, I put 2 points in strength. Okay. The other thing to note when you're using D&D Beyond, which is a great tool, is you want to turn on the optional feature manager. There are some new options that we get for Barbarians and Tasha's, the great expansion that we got. It allows us to pick up an extra couple of skills. It also increases this instinctive pounce. It gives us an extra way to use this. And let's talk about the instinctive pounce. So basically at 7th level, you get this thing called Feral Instinct for being a Barbarian. And what it does is that you have advantage on initiative rolls, and if you are surprised at the beginning of combat and aren't incapacitated, you can act normally on your first turn, but only if you enter rage before you do anything else on that turn. So the idea here is that you can't be surprised, really, and if you are, then you can act normally. You get advantage, and that's all super cool, but what we also got in Tasha's is this instinctive pounce. As part of the bonus action you take to enter your rage, you can move half your speed. That is amazing. So at the start of combat, you've got 30 feet. You go, I'm going to rage. As part of raging, I'm going to walk 15 feet, and then I'm going to move another 30. It allows you to have this amazing ability to kind of move around the battlefield extremely fast. And I think it's really, really cool. I like the whole idea of that, is that this raging barbarian is just kind of running around, killing everything. So that's where I put my abilities. For description, I chose athlete. Now, the idea behind this is that whoever created, we'll say it's a Frankenstein's monster. So whoever created this, they would, say, hey, I'm going to have like this great physical specimen to make this thing. He might go dig up the body of some, great athlete or something. The idea here is that the background for this character is going to be whatever he was before, in his life before he was created or something. So there's a lot of creative idea that you could go with that. This is what I chose. I gave him the acrobatics and the stealth skill, and I gave him Elvish language. Maybe he spoke some Elvish in his previous life. I like the idea that this language here, you could use this as a role play thing of like, I remember this language somehow. Maybe he was married to an elf, or maybe he was friends with some elves or something. So it kind of gives you this idea of like, hey, I used to know this in a previous life, which is pretty cool. All right, so for weapons, we chose the Great Axe because we want the slashing, and I chose a javelin to give us some ranged. So this is our 10th level. This is our sample build. This is just something to take a look at and say, hey, this is what this character could look like. Now, armor is only 15. You don't want a crazy high armor as a barbarian. You want it kind of middle of the road. You kind of want to take some hits so that when you rage, you stay in a rage. Because remember, you either need to deal damage or receive damage to stay in a rage every round. So I've always been like, I want some armor, but I don't want to be like 18, 20 AC or anything like that. Like, I want to stay in my rage. So this is what we've got here. For this character, stats are great. You've got a lot of skills. Now look, this to me is what's so great about this character. Okay, you've got the big hulking barbarian, and everyone thinks he's the dumb oaf. But look, we've got 2, 4, 6. We have 8 skills. Because we got the 2 for being a barbarian. We got 2 for being our background. We got 2 for being reborn, and then we picked up an extra couple of skills with the optional rules we picked up from Tasha's. So now this character, the thing with the barbarian is like, hey, there's a lot for me to do in combat, but out of combat, sometimes those skill checks, I don't have a lot of them. Well, you can make the character what he does if you do it this way. So that's a lot of skills. Plus, we also have the reborn ability to roll the extra D6. So like, hey, I want to go and intimidate somebody. I got a +3. Now I've got an additional +6 if I really just want to kind of like bring the role play home and intimidate somebody. So I think there's a lot of cool things that this character can do. And I like the fact that he can kind of be a part of all the pillars of play. I really enjoy that. Also, at 10th level, we look at this character has 105 hit points when you're raging and everything. So, I mean, you're still this giant tank. So this is my idea. I would love to hear your ideas. I am super excited about the Reborn. I love the idea of making a mummy character. I love the idea of making maybe some type of knowledge Reborn. You could almost make a character with this if he was a construct. You could take like a lore bard. You could load up on skills and jack of all trades and then just make the skill construct. It would almost like be playing a D&D C3PO, which I think would be interesting. So what are your ideas? I would love to hear about them, but please comment down below. You can also join our Discord. We build characters on there as well and kind of help people flesh out their characters. So until next time, let's keep rolling with advantage. Thanks.